Hi, I'm Dr. Ebony Stone, and this is the Black Woman in the Corner Office.
Hello, 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 and welcome to the Black Woman in the Corner Office podcast, the podcast for you, the woman, the Black woman, navigating life's intersections in the workplace daily. So, whether you're climbing the corporate ladder, redefining success on your own terms, or just trying to get through the craziness of the week, this is the space for you. We're going to talk to everyday women, incredible women with incredible journeys doing amazing things. So why don't we get right into it? Today's guest, I'm telling you, is a powerhouse. I'm not going to try to introduce her. I'm going to let her introduce herself. But I'm going to tell you, I met her 7, 8 months ago, and I did not leave that space different. I'm sorry, I didn't leave that space the same. I left that space different from running into her. So my guest today is Shakela Matthews. Welcome, Shakela.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Stone.
You're welcome. So Shakela, listen, I'm gonna ask you to tell us about yourself, but I want you to tell the audience you are an author, you're an entrepreneur, you
Yes.
are in our armed forces. So thank you for your service. You got all kind of stuff going on. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yes, ma'am, will do. First of all, thank you for having me and inviting me to do the show. I am Shakela T. Matthews. I'm originally from Atlanta, Georgia, now residing in Texas. I am a mother, I'm a wife, I'm an author of Beautiful Brokenness as well as Divinely Restored, Her Journey to Wholeness. I am also the founder of Divinely Restored. I am a certified life and relationship coach. And listen, I'm here to serve you.
I love it. I love it. So we are going to dig in. We're going to talk about your life, your career.
Mhm.
It's a story. Listen, baby, it's a story. Mm. So why don't we start by you just telling us about your journey, your
Okay.
career journey. Let's
Okay.
say, I don't know, out of high school or college if you went to college. What did your career journey look like and how did you get to where you are today?
Okay. Ooh, now, Dr. Stone, I've been out of school a long time, but let's see. Starting out, I would say Dr. Stone mentioned that I am in the military. Yes, I am in the United States Air Force and have been for 24 years. How I started that journey, or when I started that journey, was November of 2000. Prior to that time, I had been working little odd jobs, working 2 or 3 jobs, trying to just make ends meet, just to be
Mhm.
honest. I was exhausted, just constantly working and felt like I was running but going nowhere. So I ended up going to talk to a Navy recruiter first, and my first question to the Navy recruiter was, do y'all make females cut their hair? And he was like, yes. And I
Oh
was like,
wow.
nah. Yes. So kept working and doing things. And then somebody, I can't remember who was, someone introduced me to a Air Force recruiter.
Mm.
And the rest is history. I joined and I swore in 19 no 2000. I swore in the day after my birthday. Nobody believed me. And then in 2001 I actually left and went to boot camp. I feel like with the Air Force, it offered me more than just a steady paycheck, what I was used to getting. It offered me a way out and a way up, so to speak.
Mm.
um, I didn't realize at the time that it was the foundation for my purpose to lead, to impact, and to transform lives, starting with my own. I'm still in the Air Force, but since then I have written a book and opened up my women's coaching business, Divinely Restored. So yeah, that's kind of what got me in the Air Force.
I love that. So let's talk about, you said lead, impact, and
Mm-hmm.
transform. Those are the three pillars of
Yes.
divinely restored. Correct?
Yes.
I got that right.
You got that right.
And I just maybe about a week ago wrote an article about not being able to lead until you can lead yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And you just talked about that. You talked about feeling like you were on this hamster wheel
Mm-hmm.
and going to the Air Force and getting away from that.
Mm-hmm.
Talk a little bit about the hamster wheel because I'm sure there is somebody out there feeling like they're on the hamster wheel and they're just not sure, how do I get off this hamster wheel
Mm-hmm.
and make the transition? And then there's also someone out there considering the armed forces and not knowing really what to expect.
Absolutely. For me, coming out of high school and trying to decide what direction I wanted my life to go in. Yes, I went to college. I started out at Clark Atlanta University in Atlanta, Georgia, and then I could not finish school because the funding. I didn't have the funding
Yeah.
or the monies to go to school and to pay for school. And I didn't want to end up with a lot of debt, even though back then, coming out of school, high school in 1996, we didn't really learn a lot about debt and all that, those things, right?
No, we
But
did not.
no, like now is so much more stuff out there. But back then, didn't know anything about that, and knowing how to actually uh go seek resources to go to school and to get the grants and the things. I had the grades, I just didn't have the money. So I end up stopped going to school, and that's where that hamster wheel started of me working this job, and then I get off of this job and I go work this job, and I get off that job and I go to another job. And yes, I was young with no kids, but I felt like I didn't really have a life, so to speak. And I felt like at that time, which is why I'm so big on relationships now, at that time, I felt like um when even going into relationships, I felt like because I was struggling, so to speak, to get these little paychecks, can't really pay for anywhere to stay, even though I was out on my own. I started dating people that just because they had money, or I thought they had money, right? And sometimes leading me in the wrong, putting me in the wrong situations. So the Air Force, I think, was one of the best decisions that I made back then, considering, excuse me, my circumstances. And I would say I speak to young people all the time that either see me in my uniform or their parents or something may know me. And yes, I always tell them the military, although I don't think it's for everybody, but if you are trying to get a start and you don't want to go to school or don't have the means to go to school, the military is a great opportunity, because for one, it's going to provide you somewhere to stay. They're going to feed you, right? You're going to
Mhm.
get schooling. And yes, I do have my degree now, and the military paid for that. I have been all over the world, and a lot of times the military has afforded me those opportunities as well. And it's a big network. Like the military
Mm.
is a huge network. I have friends in about every state and a lot of countries because, of my ties to the military. Um, when you talk about leading, what was the statement you just made about leading?
That you can't lead anyone else until you can lead yourself.
Oh, yes, absolutely. That is the absolute truth. The military has taught me how to be a leader, how to lead from the front, and then also took me into making impact with my coaching program, because even though it's coaching in military, I told you I've been in 24 years, and that's where you start coaching. That's where you start
Mm.
mentoring your airmen and your subordinates and those up under you, even those that outrank you, because at certain times you have to train them and mentor them, your officers and those appointed over you. So yes, absolutely, you can't lead without leading yourself. And just like in relationships, you can't be in a relationship with anybody else until you have a solid relationship with yourself.
I love that. Listen, you were talking and I had to smile. So we're going to get into this book in a minute.
Okay.
Y'all, we're going to get into this
Yes,
book.
yes.
Yes, beautiful
Oh.
brokenness. But I smiled because you said you started dating and dating anybody, not anybody, but people that have money because you thought
Mm-hmm.
that was the answer.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to stop for a second because so many of us have made that mistake. I ain't
Mm-hmm.
going to share my story. We can talk about that off camera, but been there, done that. And I can
Yes,
tell you
ma'am.
so many women did. That's why I smiled a little bit when you said that. Um, but it took me to what I read in your book, what
Mm-hmm.
I've seen you speak about in other places, on other podcasts. Why don't you tell us a little bit about the book, how you came to write the book, and how that book then became catapulted you into your business?
Oh, yes. Whew, that's a good one. Okay. So beautiful brokenness. In 2000, right after COVID, I was still living in Atlanta.
So
I was
2020, you said after COVID,
2020.
right? Okay,
Yes,
got
Lord. Thank you. Get me together.
it. Okay.
2020. I was living in Atlanta and working in Warner Robins, Georgia. And my job took me from Georgia to California. And so when I moved to California, I had to leave behind my husband, my kids, everybody,
Mm,
because my husband's job, shortly after my job moved me to California, my husband's job moved him to Texas.
mm,
And so in that time, I felt like God isolated, well, God isolated me intentionally. And he did that because he needed me to tell my story so that I
mm,
could help somebody else. Because our stories are never for us, they're meant to help other people. And even throughout my life, and I've always gotten calls from women that are dealing with various things within their relationship or within themselves. And I am twice divorced, now happily married, but in those
Y'all,
divorces,
she got a beautiful love story. I
oh,
don't know if
thank
we'll have time
you.
to get into it today, but it's a beautiful love story. I'm sorry. I just
Thank
want to put that out
you.
there. Yeah.
Thank you. So, in those divorces and being isolated, God told me to write the book. So, that's where Beautiful Brokenness was birthed from. It was birthed from me being in a broken place. And a lot of times, God will break us, but He doesn't intentionally break us to hurt us. He gracefully breaks us, right? Tasha Cobbs wrote a whole song about it. But in Beautiful Brokenness, it was inspired to help women that have been in unsuccessful relationships, help them reclaim their power, right? Break through those emotional roadblocks and walk in the purpose that God has created them to walk in. So my story led me to that. I take you through how I made the decision, because a lot of us, if you're anything like me, I came from a Christian background. I'm a
Mhm.
PK. Everybody in my family on my mother's side and my father's side pretty much were ministers as well. And so divorce wasn't a thing. And
Right.
back in the day, back in the times, our grandparents and great grandparents and aunts and uncles and all that, they would stay married. They dealt with a lot of things and they would stay married. And there's still people out there like that. And no, I'm not an advocate for divorce. What I'm saying is a lot of things that not intentionally, that we go through, we stay in it thinking that one, we can either change the person or it's going to get better. And unfortunately, sometimes we aren't always able to walk away from those things because we end up, losing our lives or losing ourselves in those marriages. I was at a point where I felt like I had lost myself. And
Mm.
I felt
Because you
like,
can only change one person, and that's you.
yes, and that's you. And
Mm.
that's you. And everybody else, you got to pray and ask God to do what He gonna do, because there's nothing you
Absolutely.
can do to change anybody, right?
Absolutely.
We influence people and we impact people, but you can't make anybody change.
No, you cannot.
And so
Whoa.
I felt like, you okay?
Yeah. Pitch fell off the wall. That's
Oh,
all right. I'll
that's all
keep
right.
moving.
I felt like I was at a place where I had lost myself, and I was scared to make the decision to divorce. This was the first time I was scared to make the decision to divorce, and I had dealt with infidelity and things. And God told me, God had to sit me down and say, I didn't tell you to get in it. Right. So I was like, okay,
Ooh.
well, listen, God didn't tell me to get in it. And I know people may look at me crazy and talk about me because I'm getting a divorce, but I got to do this for me. So
Right.
when I made the decision to walk away from my marriage, that was for me. It had nothing to do with anybody else. It was what I needed and what I felt like I needed to give my kids a healthy life and let them see healthy relationships.
So let's stop right there.
Mm-hmm.
I want to back up just a little bit and explore where you said God intentionally, or you believe He intentionally isolated you, because I
Mm-hmm.
went through a very similar experience and a book came out.
Yes.
Our stories are not for us. Talk about that time of isolation.
During that time of isolation, I was in California, in Northern California, and I went out there knowing nobody.
Mm,
Well, I take that back. I knew of two people, but I didn't personally know them.
okay.
So I had nobody. It was me and the job. And so I poured myself into my work, and then I would come home, I would talk on the phone and FaceTime my husband and all the things. And then I'm just like, God, like I'm really here with nobody and nothing. And so God used that time to pour into me, to allow me to heal from some of the trauma I had experienced
Mhm.
in my marriages, in different relationships, and even after those marriages in another relationship for 5 years. So all these relationships that I've had have been long relationships, but each one I think I lost another part of myself, and God had to restore me during that time of isolation. He had to remind me who I was because I had forgotten. And that's why even if you look at the picture that's on the book
On the
cover,
cover.
yes, it's a faceless picture because I had lost who I was. And so
Mm,
when I wrote the book, it originally had a different picture on it, and it was a woman that was standing in front of a mirror, but her face was all distorted and cracked up. And the reason was because that I felt like people saw me as this beautiful person. She got it all together, so on and so forth. But inside, that's not what I saw. I saw the hurt, the shame, the disappointment, the failures, all the things. And so this faceless version is showing you that yes, I went through some things, but it's allowing you to put yourself in that story and you being able to see that just like I overcame, you can
you
overcome
can.
too.
Yes, I love that. So I I love the period of isolation.
Mm-hmm.
It is not fun
Oh no.
going through that period.
Oh no.
I remember it, and so your isolation and your story is about
Mhm,
relationship trauma, right? Going through divorces, but there are
mhm,
people who are having difficulty with spouses, or
mhm,
difficulty with jobs, or
mhm,
difficulty with family,
mhm.
or difficulty with a childhood, whatever. We're all dealing with something.
Oh yeah.
But it reminds me of something I read in your book, and it says, heal so that your wounds can become scars. And I
Mm,
read, the first time I read that, I was like, wait, I don't think that's what she meant. So I
mhm,
read the sentence again, and it said, heal so that your wounds can become scars.
mhm,
Do you know the difference between wounds and scars? Wounds cause affliction, and scars are a reminder that
mhm.
you were once wounded but healed from it. So stop picking those scabs off, causing those wounds to resurface.
Yep.
That was powerful.
Thank you.
Yeah. So you're in this isolation, you're healing, and then you decide that God is telling you to tell your story in this book.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Uh, Talk to me about what that process was like.
Absolutely. So, in my time of isolation, remember, I told y'all I'm away from everything. Like, I know nothing. I'm having to go out to eat by myself. I'm having to go on walks and work out by myself. I'm having to make friends and, purposely, intentionally get to know people because I didn't know anybody. But yeah, I'm still missing my family. I'm missing my husband, my children. So, I dealt with that for a while. And when God told me to write the book, when I was probably in my mid teens, later teens, it was prophesied to me one day that I was going to write books. And I was like, I don't know nothing about writing no books. So the thought went on and, life happened and what have you. So during this time of isolation, when God brought it back to me to write the book, I literally just started writing. Like I started journaling because when I went through therapy to help me heal from some of my traumas and past hurts, my therapist told me to start journaling. And I was like, well, I don't know what to journal about. And she was like, just start journaling
Just
about your
start writing.
day. Yeah, just start writing. And so that's what I did. And honestly, to me, that's how I pray better too. When I write stuff down, it's so much easier and so much better to me because I can allow myself to think, while I'm writing. And then even in those moments where I'm not thinking and I'm letting the Holy Spirit tell me what to write, it's like it just flows, right?
Yeah.
And so I started writing. I get through with one and I just keep writing. It wasn't a format, anything. I just started writing. And so then I'm scrolling through social media because I'm like, okay, well, I don't know anything about writing a book. And so I'm scrolling through social media and a name keeps popping up. And then it pops up again and it pops up again. And I'm like, okay. And they taught people, her name is Jasmine. She actually teaches teaches a course on being published and paid. And I said, okay, Lord, well, are you telling me this who I need to work with? Like, her name just kept coming to me. And so I end up contacting her, and then I started actually going through the process of now writing the book. Now I had written most things, but I didn't have a format. It was just stuff written,
Yes.
honestly, journal pages and what have you. And so when God would give me the stuff, I would give it and I'd be like, okay, God, I don't know if I want to tell this, or I don't know, like write it down. And so when I went through the course to actually format and put the book together and all those things, that's when I learned how to tell my story and be encouraging and impactful without just throwing up my story on people, because people want to hear your story, but they also want to see themselves in your story, and they want to know what did you do to come out of that place you were in. And so that's how it kind of formulated, and that's what produced the book.
Yes, Shakela, we were probably somewhere living parallel lives and didn't know it, because my story is very much the same when it comes to writing.
Oh my God.
My therapist told me to journal, and so I just started writing. I've always written, so I started writing, and then you look up and you're like, I got enough for a book,
Oh yeah.
right? And then you feel the urging of God to put that book together. And just like you, I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing, but I knew some people that could help me. So I will get Jasmine's information if it's okay, and the people
Oh
that help me,
yes.
because I'm sure there are people out there who have books and they just don't know what to do next. And
Oh
so
yes.
I would love to share the resources that you use, the resources that I use, my editor, my self publishing coach. Those folks were instrumental. But before that, the story had to happen I had to journal. I had to do that work, right?
Right.
Um, and that isolation is not easy. It
Mm-mm.
looks different for everybody, but it's not easy. But I just want to
Absolutely.
encourage people that when you get to the other side, it is such a beautiful thing
Oh, yes.
because you've worked through the healing,
Mm-hmm.
right? It is, and I'm gonna keep referring to your book, but it's in my book, it's the pause, right? I talk
And I
about
love it.
that
If I was
pause.
at home, I would show it.
You oh, girl, I
Yes,
got the book,
yes,
right?
come through.
So I keep it, right? Um, but you talk in your book about a reset, which
Mm-hmm.
is so interesting. I love the metaphor that you use about the computer. And this says, after going through those negative emotions, it's necessary to install system updates, recover from hurts, and
Mm-hmm.
reinitialize your drive for passion.
Mm-hmm.
A
Mm-hmm.
simple restart refreshes your memory registers, makes them ready to start over again. Rebooting is simply the process of choosing one chapter of your life and starting over. I'm sorry, closing one chapter of your life and starting over with a new chapter. Like,
Amen.
I absolutely love that. So we like your computer's not working. What's the first thing people say? Could you
Restart it.
restart it?
Yep.
Right? We're struggling and we don't even
Restart
try
it.
to restart.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so how did all of this that you went through, and I know we didn't get into details. It's in
Mm-hmm.
the book, y'all, or like I said, you can find Shakela out on the web and go into detail about the divorces and that type of thing. But how was that affecting your career? Because you're in the same place for 24 years. You're on the
Yes.
same job while you're
Mm-hmm.
going through these things.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
How is that impacting your career?
So I felt like during my career, that's when I started to, I mean, while I was going through this, and I felt like the military and my kids was the only thing, the only foundation that I really had. So I basically was in survival mode, and I used survival as my motivator.
Mhm.
Um, but purpose eventually became my anchor. But that's where it all started. Um, I've always known that it was more than just about me. So even going through, nobody could tell that I was going through. I still kept a smile on my face. I still led, I still mentored my airmen, and even people outside of the military. I knew that there were certain expectations that I carried just by, for one, wearing the uniform. Now, was I shameful? Yes. I didn't start off where I was so easy to tell my story. And then when I did started telling it, I think I probably started out telling it as the victim, but I had to unvictimize myself and see and be able to tell the full story, you know. And yes, there were things that happened, but I had to make a decision if I was going to let this hunt me, because yes, it made me feel unworthy. So me feeling unworthy in my personal life, I also felt unworthy in my military life. But I knew my job. I
Yeah.
knew my job. I knew my purpose as far as being in the military was to lead people, to guide people, to mentor people, to help people see through their own struggles. So I kind of had to mirror the two,
Mhm.
and like I said, make that decision to keep pushing. And I did with a smile on my face. Yeah, I cried plenty of nights. I cried. I've called friends. I've talked to people. I've done all the things, but I used it, like I said, as my motivation to keep going. And my kids actually helped me through that process, and I think that helped me on the work side too, because they were so proud of me being in the military. They would love to tell people I was in the military. And once I got so many years in the military, I mean, it just made me, the military was just my push and my focus at the time. So,
I
yeah.
think it is so important. I don't think, I know it is
Mm-hmm.
so important that we tell these stories. And it's not easy, right? You
Mm-hmm.
said you felt shame,
Mm-hmm.
when you're starting to tell the story. You don't know. You're kind of like, I don't know if I
Mm-hmm.
want the world to know this.
Oh,
But
yeah.
the world needs to know because
Absolutely.
there are people out there experiencing the same thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they need to know that they're not alone, especially us as Black
Yeah.
women, right?
Yes.
Everybody is experiencing these things, but Black women bear the weight of the world on their shoulders. Black people in
Absolutely.
general, right? But I
Absolutely.
always say I can't speak from the perspective of a Black male because I'm not, but I
Right.
can speak from the perspective of a Black woman that it is just extremely difficult because you're trying to navigate relationships,
Mm-hmm.
work, all of the things, all of the struggles that everybody else has, but you're also
Right.
dealing with the straight up racism,
Right.
microaggressions,
Yes.
being programmed that you got to be twice as good to get half as far.
Mm-hmm.
We have all of those things on
Yep.
our shoulders as well. And so we
Absolutely.
have to share so that people don't feel like they're alone. So
Right.
when you think about that, what do you think? We've talked about, the isolation. We've talked about
Mm-hmm.
you writing the book. What do you think was the turning point that helped you to push forward to where you are now? Because Shakela, I can tell you that when I met you, if someone had told me your story, I'd have said, "No, you got the wrong person. Like that's not her." The most positive person in the room, helping everybody, just a beautiful spirit. I'd have told him, like, no, that's not her. You got the wrong person. What was the turning point?
Thank you. I would say, hmm, my turning point was probably, ooh, when I realized that I was on a military side, I would say when I realized that I was more than just my rank and my uniform. And I say that
Mm,
because you mentioned dealing with racism and things of that. And even outside of that, just being in the military as a Black female leader is not always accepted, right? I've walked in plenty of rooms where my voice wasn't initially valued. And so that of course makes you feel some type of way, but every one of those challenges, they pushed me to become better. They taught me resilience, and they fueled my passion for me to create a space for other people, to be seen, especially those that feel unseen. So me, I would say, my pivotal moment, or the change was probably when I, like I said, when I realized that I was more qualified, and more capable, and that no one could take that from me. And I still say that to this day. Like, if God has something for me, it's for me. But even bigger than that, as I stated earlier, it's not about me. And it never has been about me. So every challenge that I've overcome created a path for somebody else to walk through. And as long as I can use my story to help other people, that I use as my turning point. Yes, I may be going in one direction and I'm being led by God. Um, and so if the Holy Spirit tells me to pivot and go this way, then I'm a pivot and go this way. I think it will always end up with me. Um, one thing I had to learn was that I had to stop leading from a place of recognition and start leading from a place of impact. And impact
mm.
is making sure that I make that person, when I leave the room, I want at least one person in that room to be better than they were when they entered the room. So
That is part. Well, let me tell you, all of the women from the Leadership Experience Tour left better for having interacted with you.
thank
And that's where I
you.
met you, yes. But I think that's powerful. You said stop leading from a place of recognition
Hmm.
and make sure you're leading from a place of impact.
Correct.
That is so powerful. You also said you had to realize that your value was not in your rank. Your
Mm-hmm.
value was not in your title.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that is important to tell, especially to women who are just starting out
Mm-hmm.
or maybe starting their climb, whether it's in the military, in corporate, whether they're entrepreneurs,
Mm-hmm.
right? Your value is not in a title, it's not in a paycheck,
Mm-hmm.
it's not in some award.
Yes.
It's so important to know those things. So I think I got a ton more questions for you. I got three questions before we wrap things up here.
Okay.
And the first question is, I keep talking about this beautiful love story that you have.
Yes.
We've touched on, you had a couple of divorces.
Mm-hmm.
You talk about that in the book. We talked about um, your period of isolation from your now husband. Just give us a quick overview of this beautiful love story.
Absolutely. This, oh my God. God is so good and he is so intentional. Yes, I've gone through the divorces, and not saying that all of, all the years of my marriages were bad. We just weren't meant for each other. And y'all can read the book or see me for other things to find out other parts of that story. But for my love story, oh my God, it's so funny because it started in high school. He is actually my high school love. And we started dating in high school, and then we broke up.
Yes.
And we went on about our lives. We remained friends. And I'm not gonna dig into it because there's some more things coming with that. So y'all stay tuned. But we broke up, and then I got married. He got married. He ended up getting married because I got married. And then as I was divorcing, he was actually getting married, and then I got back married and then got divorced. And so our stories are so parallel. But anyway,
Mhm.
both of us had two marriages prior, and it took 24 years for us to get back together. So I just want to encourage people that have that think that love doesn't exist or what have you. It absolutely does. Um, One thing that I tell women that women that come to me, my clients, and they be like, "Well, I want to get married." And my first question is, "What are you doing to prepare yourself for marriage?" And I ask that because me going through the things that I went through, if my husband and I had stayed together, I don't think it would be as loving and successful as it is.
Mm.
God needed to teach us both some things, and he had to
Yeah.
teach us those things separately. God wastes nothing. So nothing about my life was wasted. Yes, if I had to choose to do some things over, I probably would. But knowing that God used those to build my story and to make me unique, because he created all of us to be unique. None of our stories are going to align, and everybody has their story, right? So my husband now, oh my God, he is such a man of God. He is so loving. And what you see with us is what you get. Like, it's nothing for show. Um, we are just a loving couple who love our family, love each other, love
Mhm.
God, and we keep it pushing. But
So listen,
there's more to come on that one.
yes, and I'm waiting for it.
Yes, sir.
I have not had the pleasure of meeting your husband, but I have seen interviews, and
Yes,
I have
sir.
a friend, a really good friend of mine. You met her, Talia, and
Yes.
Talia always says, "Ebony, if Q, that's my husband, Fardirka, she calls him Q, if Q could just put you in his pocket and walk around with you in his pocket all day, I bet you he would do it."
I
And
love
I'm
it.
telling you, I believe that if your husband could just put you in his pocket
Mm-hmm.
and walk around with you all day, he would. That man
Oh
is so in love with you. You could just see it in his face.
yeah.
And him, I was watching a podcast you guys did, and the way you looked at him, I was like, they so in love. So beautiful. So beautiful.
And that's my man, my man, my man.
All
Listen.
right now. Okay. So more to come on that. I can't
Yes,
wait. Keep me posted.
I will do.
As we wrap up, tell us a little more about what you do in the entrepreneurial realm, right? We talked about Divinely Restored. Tell us a little more about Divinely Restored, what people can expect if they're working with Divinely Restored, where we can find you, and what's coming up.
Okay. So, Divinely Restored was one of the was birthed out from writing the book Beautiful Brokenness, and birthed from my story or my journey. Um, Divinely Restored is right now, I like I mentioned earlier, I'm a life and relationship coach, and so in that I coach women and I help them to, like I said, break cycles, rediscover their story or their power, and create healthy relationships. And part of that, or all of that, centers around one person, and that's you. So we do a lot of digging to get to the root cause of things, like Dr. Stone read in my book about the wounds and the scars. We all have wounds, right? We all have had some wounds, and we try to get you to a place where there are scars and no longer wounds, because wounds you can reopen. All you do, if you scratch that scab off that surface, that wound is going to reopen. So we have to attack those layers and those root causes of things. And that's one thing that you can get from Divinely Restored, is we're going to get to the root cause to break those cycles, right? So you don't feel like you're on that hamster wheel, and creating and cultivating those healthier relationships so that you can be a better leader. You can perform better in the workplace. You can perform better at home as a wife, as a mother, as a friend, and all the different types of relationships, right? And rediscover who you are, because like I stated earlier, even in me going through those marriages and my divorce, I felt like each one took something from me and I no longer recognize myself. So I'm going to help you find yourself again. The easiest way to get in contact with me, you can go to my website, which is Kelat, Kelat, Writes, WRITES.com. I'm also on IG at Kelat T Writes. As far as things that are coming forward, I have some new things that are dropping very soon. One to be a membership. And so
Yeah.
stay on the lookout for the membership. And if you would like to subscribe to the newsletter, just go to KelatTWrites.com, sign up for the newsletter, and you can stay in touch with things that that are happening with Divinely Restored, as also always lead with love, and that's me and my husband's brand. So yes, stay in tune. Hit us up on the DM on IG or on Facebook. Facebook is under my name, Shakela Matthews, and I look forward to talking to you all.
Yes, I love it. I love it. I'm looking for exciting things from you individually,
Yes,
from
ma'am.
you and your husband collectively. Black love is such a beautiful thing. So I
And
am
it
looking
is.
forward to seeing those. And so I want to conclude with just another excerpt from your book.
Okay.
Um, and it is just questions. And I'm gonna ask these questions because I think our listeners need to hear them and they need to answer them.
Yes.
Let's reflect. Have I allowed myself time? Am I willing to settle for the fear of being alone? Do I love myself? And am I ready to love someone else? Does the dating process overwhelm me? Do I believe that I am worthy of being loved? Am I willing to submit? Do I have healthy relationship boundaries?
Mhm.
What precautions will I take in the next relationship? And I think those questions are important whether we're talking about romantic love
Mhm.
or we're talking about a relationship in a workplace, if we're
Mhm.
talking about a friendship, just in general, those questions are important. You are important. So, as Shakela said, your value is not in your rank, it's not in a title, it's not in a paycheck. Your value is because you are God's child. And so, with that, we're going to conclude today's episode. And until next time, keep spreading that Black girl magic on everything you do. I'll see you next time.
Yes.